Hey guys, and well, hello. We've got a COVID infected Bobags over here, so we figured while we can't do much else, why not make a new video? Here's my video on the newest killer in Propnight. Enjoy. In a probable attempt to compete with Dead by Daylight's Onryo or Sadako Rising chapter, the new content for Propnight released on Monday the 7th of March, just one day before Dead by Daylight's new content dropped. And what's the new Propnight content, I hear you ask? Well, right this way, sir. We've got a new map and a brand new killer. The new map being the village, however this video will be focusing on the new killer. The latest in a roster of already very silly killers comes perhaps the silliest of them all, Sheet Man. A man who literally wears a sheet over his head. In this video we're going to cover an introduction to Sheet Man, we're going to break down his abilities, and we're also going to offer a few hints and tips to players that want to get off to a good start with the new killer. So we start by looking at his abilities, and he does look to have a fair few tools in the box. So first up is a poop trap. The ability is literally called poop. So Sheet Man is able to lay these around the map at various different places. What happens is shortly after laying one on the ground, it will quickly camouflage itself to the point where you can just about see it if you're looking hard for it. However, a survivor that is rushing around the map while getting chased is unlikely to notice them. An unwitting survivor will stumble across one of these poop traps. This will cause it to release a toxic poison gas, which both damages slightly and also slows down the movement speed of the survivor. Sheet Man has an unlimited supply of these things. He can have as many laid on the map as he wants at any given point in time, and they're on a 30-second cooldown. Next up we have poison gas. I'll be honest, this is basically a fart attack that Sheet Man does. So what happens is it activates a poison gas cloud that will damage any survivors nearby to you when you use it. It's a damage over time depending on how long they spend close to Sheet Man. It's just a small amount of damage and it has very close range. It lasts for 5 seconds and it's on a 45-second cooldown. Right, so hang on a second, let me just get this straight. So he has poop traps, he does fart attacks, and his name is Sheet Man. And he also happens to wear a sheet over his head. Is there perhaps a double meaning to be taken from all this somewhere? I do wonder. Anyway, either way, I think it's safe to say that it's clear that somebody had a lot of fun designing this character, which is great to see. Moving on to his final ability, which is a hook attack. Those of you that have played Roadhog on Overwatch will be all too familiar with this. It's a long-range hook which latches onto survivors and pulls them in close for Sheet Man to follow up with an M1 or whatever. It's a fun ability, although it's a little bit janky in terms of its mechanics, as in like whether it hits or misses. And you will fire off some hooks that look to be very much on target and look like they should hit, and they will somehow miss. And other hooks that look like they should miss will somehow hit. So it's a little bit clunky in that way, but it's still a good fun ability. Your movement speed while using the hook is slowed down to about half speed. So in terms of using it during a chase, you can either hit it and obviously life's good, or you can miss and lose distance in your chase. So it's a little bit like risk versus reward in that way. This, coupled with the fact that its damage is a bit underwhelming, it's just not that satisfying in terms of how much damage it does when you do land it. Especially based on what we've just been talking about how challenging it can be to hit it at times. So I feel like when you do manage to land a hook, it should be like a guaranteed down on a survivor. And right now, that's just not the way it is. Right now, it just doesn't do that much damage. I think currently, like a successful hook followed up by an M1 is maybe like half the survivor's HP. And then sometimes even that's not consistent. But like I say, this is just the way it is currently, and who knows, maybe that's something that will change in a future update. Maybe his hook damage will get buffed. Me personally, it's something I would quite like to see, if anything just to help balance out the risk versus reward thing that we spoke about earlier, and also to appropriately reward the difficulty of successfully landing it. The hook has a 5-second cooldown. With Sheet Man's abilities covered, it's about time to move on to the hints and tips section of the video. We're going to start off with some suggestions for your poop trap placements. So in general, doorways are pretty good. Just in front of prop machines, just in front of chests, and just in front of chaired survivors are all pretty good areas for your poop traps. Just try and pay attention to the top right part of the screen, and if you suddenly start seeing these hit notifications come up, as this is the only indicator you'll get that a survivor has just set off one of your traps. Let's say you've just placed a trap in a prime location. Not too long after, you see the hit notifications. This gives you information, as now you know a survivor has just triggered that trap. You can use that information to figure out whereabouts on the map that survivor is. The top right hit notifications are fairly subtle. They're very easy to miss, so be on the lookout for them. Next up is with regards to how difficult it can be to find survivors that are inside small props when they are hiding in very annoying locations. So it's quite hard for most killers, but one thing Sheepman can do is use his poison gas ability to effectively smoke them out, so to speak. So let's say you don't know exactly where they are, you just have a sneaking suspicion that they're in the area. Drop your poison gas ability, this will damage them and bring them out of their hiding position. Just a quick note on hook accuracy, because obviously there is that clunkiness that we mentioned earlier. One thing you might notice is that there is a slight delay from when he throws the hook to when it actually lands. So what you can do to help this is just try and lead on the target a little bit. So don't throw the hook at where they are right now, but throw it at where you think they're going to be in like half a second's time. It takes a little bit of movement prediction. It's hard at first, but it will come with practice. And once you start to do this, you'll notice that your hook accuracy will start to get a lot more consistent. But obviously, you know, don't be too hard on yourself. Just bear in mind that at this point, it's still near impossible to hook small props that are bouncing up and down or moving around the map quite quickly. However, survivors that are in normal human form or in larger props, you should be able to start hooking these quite consistently with practice. One good way of using the hook is to effectively yoink survivors that are working on prop machines. This is best done by approaching the prop machine from directions that give you vision from as far away as possible. This way the survivor is given minimal warning that the killer is approaching, and then before they know it, yoink, they've just been hooked off of the prop machine. For this, you are going to want to learn the best angles or the best directions to approach certain prop machines from in order to give you the best line of sight possible from as far away as possible. Another juicy tip worth remembering is that it is possible to hook survivors through doors that have already been closed. So bear this in mind and try and take advantage of it to catch survivors unaware. With Sheepman, what seems to also come with being a man of many talents is the trade-off of having extremely low damage output, and this is consistent across all of his abilities, including his hook, disappointingly. Additionally, his M1 has ridiculously short range, and it barely scratches the survivors. My final tip is to address these issues. What I recommend you do is to try and combo your abilities together to use them all at the same time in the same fight or in the same chase. So let's say you're chasing a survivor, you want to throw your poop trap out in front of you or out in front of them. So they trigger that, they're taking the damage from that. At the same time, you then hook them and pull them in close. You then drop your poison gas cloud ability. So the survivor's just been hooked, now they're taking damage from the poison gas, while at the same time you're M1ing them. So you see what I mean when I say you want to try and combo together, chain together your abilities to try and maximize damage output. It really is the only way Sheepman can down survivors quickly. So try to practice doing that. If not, you're going to get very used to doing a bit of damage to survivors, not quite downing them, and then watching them run away, which is going to be quite frustrating. Before we conclude everything and give our verdict, there's one thing I'd be selling you short on if I didn't let you know. Sheepman absolutely excels at camping the chair. Now, I am definitely not condoning this type of playstyle. I'm simply stating that it exists, and he is really, really good at it. He does it far more efficiently than any other killer in the game at the moment. The reason being for this is that he can place multiple poop traps in front of a survivor on the chair. A would-be rescuing survivor comes over and sets off 3 poop traps at the same time, takes all the damage from that. Their unchairing animation is then interrupted as they get hooked by the nearby waiting Sheepman. So the person on the chair does not get rescued, the rescuer gets hooked over, they then get M1'd, they instantly go down. Rinse and repeat this process a few times and you'll have GG in about 3 minutes. Like I say, I'm definitely not condoning this playstyle in any way, shape or form. I'm simply stating that if you do want to play like that, then Sheepman is very, very good at it. Finally, this brings us to the conclusion of the video, and to answer the question in the thumbnail, is Sheepman the new strongest killer in Propnight? I would say no, he is most definitely not. If I was to put him in a tier, I would say he is A tier and not S. The only killers currently residing in the S tier would be Imposter and Banshee, in my opinion. And let's face it, it's going to take quite a lot to knock those two off the top spot. However, Sheepman is a lot of fun to play, but this of course depends on your definition of fun. If your idea of fun is playing the stronger or meta killers in the game, typically winning most of your matches, then this killer is not the one for you. But if your idea of fun is running around the map dressed as a man with a sheet over his head, looking absolutely ridiculous whilst making use of some extremely silly abilities, and just generally having a laugh, then I think you'll really enjoy playing this character. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video and learnt a thing or two about Sheepman, and maybe even picked up a couple of tips along the way. Armed with this knowledge, you can now go out and be the scariest Sheepman that you can be. Enjoy, and happy hunting. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, then please do drop a like and a subscribe. And if you want to see more content like this, then maybe leave a comment down below to let me know. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.